Hi guys, hope you're having a great day. This is Fred and Sheila with Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures and FS Investigates.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is another video in a series of videos that Sheila and I are going to do. If you've been following along with us on the Kentucky State Trooper Johnny Edrington's death, these videos may be of interest to you. Sheila and I have talked to many. We've investigated anything and any lead and any comment, anything that anybody's had. We started out in the beginning when we first saw Doug Asher's book. We were doing some research.
Yeah.
Give you a follow-up on Doug Harless. That's the gentleman that was killed in his own home in London, Kentucky, when the police supposedly, allegedly, so far there's nothing back on it, which is ironic, but let's don't go there. We were doing some research on the Doug Harless case and run up on a news article with Doug Asher, Kentucky State Police Lieutenant Colonel, retired. He wrote a book, and in his book he wrote about Kentucky State Trooper Johnny Edrington, who was killed right where we're standing there, almost right there, in 1988, December the 20th. And this man's death has been ruled a homicide by the state police, Kentucky State Medical Examiner, Kentucky State Chief Medical Examiner, world-renowned pathologist
Vincent DeMayo.
And it's ruled a homicide. But in this book, Mr. Asher slanderously says that, in my opinion, slander, because it's been ruled, it's been judged, it's been a death certificate. Now remember, on a death certificate, they have options. It's accidental, it's natural, it's suicide, it's homicide, it's pending,
and undetermined.
They didn't mark undetermined. They didn't mark pending. They marked homicide. His death's a homicide. Now, over the years, those two gentlemen behind us, if you're from Oil County or London area, you're going to recognize them. That's Jimmy and Johnny Phelps. Jimmy in the orange, Johnny, thank you, babe, in the green. Real nice guys. Nothing but nice to Sheila and I. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't like that. We don't know those guys from Adam before we met with them yesterday, excluding the phone call from the day before. But
exactly.
Throughout the years since Johnny Edrington's death, those guys were state troopers at the time. Jimmy in the orange was a state trooper. Johnny in the green was a detective. He was one of the original detectives assigned to the case. Over the years, they had become, through rumors, suspects. They must have had something to do with Johnny Edrington's death. We think, Sheila and I, since we've been doing all this, we think it's because they were so fast to say that it was an S-side. Right off the bat, they said, "Oh, he's S-sided himself." One of our videos, Jimmy or Johnny once said he was a good friend of ours, and I even make the statement. I said, "Well, friends like that, he didn't need enemies." Didn't know these two gentlemen at the time, and you've got a state trooper, your buddy's being killed on the side of the road within minutes, hour. You're stating that he's off himself. See, what a lot of people don't understand about those two troopers there, just like myself or anybody else, in 1988, those guys had only been state troopers since 1979. So they'd only been troopers for 9 years. Now, you put those troopers out there, or me or anybody else, after 40 years, working the case a lot different than it is after 9 years.
You have more experience.
Experience. My thing is, you're going to get to hear it throughout the next several videos because these guys are interesting. These guys work the case. These guys were gotten out of bed that night and told that Johnny was dead, and they responded to the scene. Mm-hmm. And you're going to hear some of what they got to say
in the following videos.
Yeah, this is just one of the. By now you should have done heard 3 videos dealing with a phone call that Sheila and I had with Jimmy in Orange. Mm-hmm. We talked to him extensively, an hour and something, and we made it into 3 different videos Sheila did. So they won't be so long. And these videos here hopefully are going to be not as long either. I just wanted to touch base with you and give you a little bit of perspective of what was going on. Now, she's going to show a video here. Mm-hmm. And be sure and stay tuned till the end of this series.
Okay. Because
at the end of these series, you're going to hear mine and Sheila's take on those 2 fellows right there. You're going to hear mine and Sheila's take on Johnny Edrington's death. Mm-hmm. Through our investigation, what we found out, and our opinions. Now, we've never won any awards for being the smartest 2 people on earth. So, this is our opinions. This is through our research. We do a little bit of research throughout the years besides police work, but especially Hatfield McCoy history, Hatfield McCoy feud history. So stay tuned till the last video we do. But for right now, she's going to start this video. You got anything to say before you start the video?
No, I'm good.
She's going to start the video and we'll pick up on the other end. Or in the middle if we decide to.
All right, just a second.
Okay, guys. Today is June the 6th, 2025. What are we doing, Sheila?
Today, we are meeting with Mr. Jimmy Phelps and Mr. Johnny Phelps.
Today, we're meeting with former KSP troopers, Jimmy Phelps, trooper, and Johnny Phelps, detective, that was here at the Johnny Edrington scene that night that Johnny was killed, and also Detective Johnny Phelps was, you'll probably hear me say that a lot because I know a fella from back home. And I get confused and mixed up. But
it's all good, no worries.
So we're going to meet. We've been talking with Jimmy Phelps last couple of days about this case.
Right.
And they're going to meet with us today, show us some files, show us some photographs, point out we've got some marker paint where the vehicle was parked. We've got some flags to put down where the flashlight was, where Johnny's remains were.
Right.
This will give us a first-hand view and a closer look at.
That way we'll have better
understanding, yeah. Better idea of where everything was located.
Right.
Because we've saw some things on the news, we've saw things in photographs, but it's nothing like being shown for real.
Actual, yeah.
Now there comes a Kentucky State Trooper going by now in the area, and but that's what we're doing here today. Once again, doing a follow-up on the Johnny Edrington homicide is what Sheila and I believe this is. Now, Jimmy and Johnny Phelps seem to think, as did Doug Asher according to his book, that this was a suicide. And they are as adamant about it being a S-side
as we are.
As we and others are, the state police, including the Kentucky State Police, that called it a homicide. Rightly so, in our opinion. Now, in one of our conversations with Mr. Jimmy Phelps, Jimmy wants to make credence to what he says that a medical examiner at the time, a young medical examiner, Huntsinker, Dr. Huntsinker at the time, marked it undetermined. Sorry about the traffic, guys. We're on the side of the road, actually, so we're going to get that. I'm trying to talk loud, but Huntsinker says it was undetermined in his report. In the Lexington Herald Leader, which Sheila has shown many times, he says that he never told nobody that this was ever self-inflicted or a S-side. So we're going to take him at his word. We're going to take it as the newspaper reported and what his report said at the time. It's 37 years later, and people says, well, he says it was self-inflicted. Well, he didn't say that at the time. He didn't say that at the time. I'm wondering if you can take the sound off this part. Guys, what we're looking at right there at a minute and 42 seconds. By the time I got the stopwatch going, give us a 10 or 15 seconds, but a minute and 42 seconds since that state trooper went by us, traveling toward Pulaski County. Now, what Sheila's looking at right now, when she turned around and looked behind her, and then she turned back, we're hearing a siren.
Right.
We're hearing sirens. Right in here, there's a police car, state police is chasing a violator coming toward us. You'll see me turn the camera around. Let's follow through. He said it was undetermined. And right there, guys, is exactly. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. It couldn't happen no better than what just happened in life. This is where Johnny Edrington's car was basically at. That's what happened. That trooper went down the road, met a speeder, and followed him back and pulled him over right here. Just so happened. And that's exactly what happened to Johnny Edrington. Guys, this is what you call, in police work, a honey hole.
Okay.
This is where you go when you're at the end of your shift and you don't have any productivity. You don't have any activity. And you're saying, oh, crap, I've goofed around the whole shift. I better write some tickets. This is where you would come to. This is where Johnny Edrington come to 37 years ago. And this is where this trooper's at today. In fact, he stops 5 or 6, writes 5 or 6 citations right there in that area during our interview while we're talking to Jimmy and Johnny. He's all up and down that 5 miles radius right there. This is a honey hole. Now, it's not here yet. It won't be in a video or two later. But and it just come to me while I'm talking. But Jimmy or Johnny won't, while we were talking that day, or it may have very well been on the telephone. One of them makes reference and says, why would he go to a straight stretch where he can see in both directions so far so he would have time to do what he did? That's their analogy. Well, what he went there for was going to write tickets. He was on this straight stretch at the end of his shift, probably going to get at least one citation, because from what Sheila and I found out through investigation so far, unless we've missed something, Johnny hadn't wrote a ticket that night. Hadn't wrote the first ticket. He'd done some motorist assist, done several traffic stops, but he hadn't written a citation. Now, maybe that's why everybody says, oh, we love Johnny Edrington. We love Johnny E. Maybe that's why they all said it, because maybe he wasn't a big ticket writer. That night, he followed a tractor trailer down the road, just like that one coming there. He went by. He got down the road and he passed the tractor trailer going toward Pulaski County. After he gets on in the front of the tractor trailer, here comes a speeding truck, a pickup truck by. just so happened that evening there was a pickup truck reported stolen in Somerset, Kentucky.
Yep.
Here comes a pickup truck, 79 miles an hour. He pulls off the road, lets the tractor trailer go by, whips around. Tractor trailer driver says he can hear the trooper tromping it. He can hear him getting on it, going after the violator. Well, from the Pulaski County line back to here is 2.2 miles, something like that. From where he turned on him at, this is where Johnny made the traffic stop, exactly what you seen that trooper do just now.
Yep.
This is a honey hole. This is where he done it 37 years ago, writing tickets here, and the state police are still writing tickets there today because people comes across that Pulaski County line, they're headed toward I-75, and they're only 7 miles out, and they get careless, they get anxious, and they get on it when they see this straight stretch, and that's what happens. Go ahead, Punk.
All right.
That night, it gets you, baby. If this doesn't get any better, then it just happened.
Got another truck coming, so.
If you'll watch this trooper, that's exactly what happened with Johnny Edrington. Now, see, this one's going to the passenger side. We don't know if Johnny went to the passenger or to the driver's side, but somewhere along the way, right in there, is where you're going to see right up down this strip somewhere, because we don't know exactly where the vehicle was parked at, somewhere in that area.
Wow.
And either he had a passenger out or the driver out administering field sobriety tests. He could have been administering a PBT.
Yeah.
Jimmy was telling us yesterday that it was reported that his PBT, a portable breath tester, a little handheld device, was missing out of his vehicle. If that's so, Johnny very well could have been giving somebody a PBT, a field sobriety test, along with a portable breath test. Now, somewhere along the way, right in there where that trooper's at, in front of his car, 18 feet away, is where Johnny was killed. And this is very interesting. We could ask for a dramatization.
One thing, did you see how his hat was on when he got back to the car? He took it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, Johnny's hat was in the vehicle that night, which always told us that Johnny got out without his hat because he got out in a hurry.
Yeah.
And he didn't have time to put his hat on because somebody was already exiting the vehicle, or he got out because he didn't put his hat on because he knew who the person was.
Right.
But this was a godsend. This was a godsend right there. This could happen no better than what we're viewing right here.
Right.
Now, Johnny wasn't killed in his vehicle. He was killed on the outside of his vehicle, so he never made it back to his vehicle to write a citation,
Right.
or to do anything.
Right. Because he did have his lights going, or his spotlight, whatever it was called. I don't know the correct term.
Yeah.
But he had those on, so.
Takedown lights,
Takedown.
spotlight,
Yeah.
blue lights, all the emergency equipment was activated. His radar was locked in on 79 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And exactly what we're looking at is exactly.
Guys, if you'll see that orange Hummer there to the left of the state trooper that's coming down the road right now, that's Jimmy and Johnny. That's the two men behind us, and they pull over on the shoulder of the road, and they circle in behind me and Sheila here in a minute, and then that's when our interview will start. I'm looking at the time of this video, so that's probably going to be at the next video when this one is done. But at least you know that vehicle right there, they are arriving on the scene, and we're going to get an interview going here in a minute. But let's go ahead and finish this.
I also think you turned the camera around to show them sitting there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Ready?
Yeah.
What happened in December the 20th, 1988, Trooper Johnny Edrington was sitting right there in that location on this strip, somewhere between Sheila and the end of that guardrail.
I think that's what we're waiting on.
Before it took place. she said she thinks that's who we're waiting on. That may be the Phelps brothers there, or at least Jimmy Phelps. I'm not sure if the brothers coming with them or not. But Sheila, what about that? Is that amazing?
This is amazing. I feel sorry for the person
That's amazing.
that's getting pulled over.
Yeah, the
But
violator's either going to get a ticket or a warning,
he's right.
citation. But that trooper went by a while ago, and when he went by, I filmed him as he went by,
He went, yep.
and he went down through there, and that's exactly when Johnny was following that truck, the tractor trailer that night. The tractor trailer said that his radar unit kept coming on.
Yeah.
That the trooper was flipping his radar on and off. And then the truck came by, and the trooper turned around, and came back, and right about there is where he stopped him.
Yep, sure did.
All right.
Okay, so now let me
Okay.
switch this out.
And guys, what happens there is Jimmy and Johnny have gotten out of their vehicle, and I turn around and I start talking to them, and Sheila gets the camera and everything set up for the interview that we're getting ready to do there. And I think we're shaking hands there probably. And it's going to be, for those of you that's never heard the story, didn't know who the Phelps brothers were, that's been in the newspapers all these years and been accused of having involvement in the death of Johnny Edrington. That's the two gentlemen.
Yep.
That has been referred to in the newspapers and in articles. And, you know, we'll discuss it at the end of the last video. I don't want to give it away. Let's let you all listen to the interview. Let's let you all listen to some of the comments. You're not going to get to see any pictures. Sheila didn't look at but one, and that was just of his hand.
Yeah.
Sheila and I have discussed this a lot of times. We just don't put it on the video. We just don't put things because we don't want to give other people our thoughts. Let them give theirs. But even on the way up there that day, we made a pact with each other to make sure that we tried to find at least one picture where we could see Johnny's hand with the gun laying in it. And because the only thing that would, the least little bit, prove that he had the gun still in his hand was that the finger would have been through the trigger guard. The thumb would have been in the trigger guard.
That would have been
Hooked. That was the only way that you could explain a .357 Magnum with a .357 Magnum round in it, a hot round, staying in his hand, is that it got hooked. And if it got hooked, it would still be hooked. You know, we done the dramatization, didn't get that many views on that. If you haven't seen the one with the .357, it got a lot of views on the 22. 22 didn't go anywhere. But when we finally borrowed a .357 off of a fella and shot it, that thing shoots through the air like
the recoil was crazy.
If we hadn't had a rope hooked to it, it wouldn't even landed on the mat it's incredible. Now, what you got to understand here also is that if he's got the gun pointing toward him, the recoil's going to go backwards, just like it did on the demonstration downstairs.
It should have went away from his body.
They covered up the other part of it, and I told Sheila, I said, come here and look at this. Look at this one picture. Because you can imagine a .357 Magnum to a head, the damage that was done, whether self-inflicted or homicide. But it's homicide. Let me just always clarify that so you'll know. So there's never any doubt. This was a homicide. And we'll explain later on. We're going to let these guys explain their analogy.
That's right.
But the gun was laying there in an open hand. No thumb, no finger, nothing. Correct, Sheila?
Correct. It didn't, to me, now this is just a lay person.
No, you're not a layperson. You've been around guns all your life, but
It didn't.
you know what recoil will do, and you saw what recoil will do, and for that gun to just be laying in an open hand, it didn't. That didn't happen. I'm
Didn't
sorry.
seem right. Didn't match. Didn't
No.
equal out. Whatever.
So we're not going to drag this video out any longer.
Okay.
Be sure, if you're into this case, stay tuned for the next video where Jimmy and Johnny talk. And they're very interesting, very knowledgeable fellas, very respectful, very friendly.
They were very.
It was a real good, because we got off, the three of us, me and those two guys. Sheila, she gets along with everybody.
Try, guys.
But Sheila and I had read the comments on the newspapers about these two fellas. When we started reading Doug Asher's book, we didn't go there for 2, 3, 4 videos. We didn't mention. We'd read the stories, but we didn't mention it because as a police officer, I know how rumors get started and how people would rather spread a rumor on a police officer is to eat. And we didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. We just thought it was rumors. And then it kept going on. More people we'd talked to, they would say, well, did you know this? Did you know that? And then you start listening over and over and over. And you're thinking, wow, there must be something here. Mm-hmm. And then in one of our videos that we did, or somebody's Facebook page, I forget how it come about, but Jimmy or Johnny one had commented about Sheila and me. Mm-hmm. Y'all can comment about me. That's fine. Don't Sheila don't bother nobody. She's my Ed McMahon. She's my sidekick. But and I made a video. I come back and I said, friends like you guys, he didn't need enemies if that's the best you could investigate his death. And I made some evaluations there, in my opinion. And so now we're on a different, when you get and you shake hands and you're standing there talking to people, and we made we're texting each other on our way here and while they're on their way there, and we tell them, keep an open mind. Sheila and I want to convince them this is a homicide. Of course, they want to convince us, no, this is a S side. Mm-hmm. It's not. I don't know that we convinced them any more than they did us. That they didn't convince us. I'll go ahead and tell you before we get to the end of the video, but it's interesting. Spoiler alert! Listen to some of their spoiler alert. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Bobby gets mad when I do that.
But we was talking about how they didn't convince us and we didn't convince them.
Yeah, and but it's interesting, and it gets even more interesting. And we'll see you on the next video. Sorry to drag it out, babe.
It's all good. No worries.
But if they're into this, it doesn't matter. I know people don't like long videos, but it's not about the time to us. It's about trying to prove our point.
Right.
And trying to speak for Johnny, since Johnny can't speak for himself.
Right. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We hope you have a great day. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
God bless.
God bless.